Hello and welcome to this edition of EC3 HOSA Medical Moments. I'm Gina Ryan, Director of Hardin County Educational and Community Television, and today we're going to talk about FRIS and also our health services program that Janae Sutton oversees. She's the Director of our health services and student services for the district. And Janae, you and I both have been here for a long time, so just briefly tell our audience where you started.
I started Hardin County Schools back in 1996. I'm very proud to start my 29th year with our wonderful school system. I've been with James T. Alton Middle School. I was there as a music teacher for 9 years, then Woodland Elementary as school counselor, transferred then to Vine Grove Elementary as assistant principal, and then I have been here at the board, I think January will be my 15th year in this particular position as Director of Health and Family Services.
And for that, basically, you oversee what now?
There's lots of wonderful programs that provide supports to our children and to our families through our community services. And a phrase that I've coined here recently is that collaboration maximizes strength. And that is so true with what we have right here and the many programs that I'm fortunate enough to get to serve. The first program is the Family Resource Youth Service Center coordinators. They are like the social workers within our building throughout. We've added to our FRISC team the Family Stability Coordinator, who helps families who are experiencing any type of housing instability and just need a little closer look at the situation that they're in, and they'll team and work with your FRISC coordinator. In addition, we have a school nurse team. Every one of our schools has a school nurse, in addition to 3 nurse practitioners that travel throughout our district. So just like you would go, Gina, to Kroger Clinic or to an urgent care for, might be strep throat, might be a sinus infection, and so forth, you can go in there, you can see the school nurse, determine if a referral's needed. If you want to go see your own doctor, that's great. But if you are cut for time, you can't get in appointment-wise, we're happy to see you through our Cumberland Family Medical. So Cumberland Family Medical is the wonderful agency that we contract with. And that's where our school nurses and all of our nurse practitioners come from. In addition to that, I work with the school counselors and the FRISC on our school-based mental health services and any programming that a child might need outside the school, in the clinic, or actually school-based health services and so forth. We work with 504s with kiddos. Tiffany Darnell is our 504 coordinator, but those are services that naturally go through, whether it's mental health, physical health, and so forth. Lots of different programs that we just bring to our kids so that they can sit in their chairs and those barriers can be removed and they can learn and be successful.
It's been phenomenal how the nurses and the physician's assistants have really transformed our schools. And we are, I will say, blessed in order to have so many nurses available. I mean, not many districts have that.
Correct. In order to have, not in order to have, but in that we have one at each district. That's so much different than 15 years ago. Lincoln Trail District Health Department is another agency that I enjoy working with so much. And for years, they supplied school nurses. And at that time, it was for special needs and special health care services only. Children that may have G-tube feedings, those that might have special significant allergies, using EpiPens, diabetics with glucagon, and so forth. But these school nurses, and at that time we only had like 5 to 7 on our team. But now we have one at each building, and they handle every bump, bruise of children up to significant illnesses. We have had school nurses that were the first one to detect, because they know their kids. They know the ones that normally don't behave in such ways, and this one child, eventually he was, unfortunately, had been diagnosed with cancer, and it was a result of his relationship with the school nurse that was like, this is not this child, this is not his normal behavior, talked with mom, talked with physician, and got things sped up there. So just the relationships and those extra eyes that we can have on our kiddos. The other neat thing about Cumberland Family Medical is it's available to every one of our Hardin County School staff members. So you, Gina, if you're on the way to work and just something doesn't feel right about your knee and so forth, or you are experiencing some kind of sinus issue, there are options that maybe the nurse practitioners who you would go on to see. But for example, if there was something wrong with your knee, they might make a referral. They don't do x-rays and things like that. But they also have dental services that they can provide throughout our schools. And something brand new this school year with Cumberland Family Medical, they're just piloting it in a couple of school districts, not ours yet, but is eyeglasses and getting vision exams and so forth, and glasses for those children in need. So we're excited for those services to hopefully soon. And then we have our wonderful behavioral health team. We have 12 school-based therapists, and then we partner with 10 local agencies that provide school-based therapists as needed in our schools.
Well, and their goal is to keep our kids happy, healthy, and safe when they do that. Of course, the entire month of August, we probably get new students walking in the door every day.
Absolutely.
And prior to that, they are supposed to have certain immunizations and things like that. So can you go through that list of some of the things that they need to have in place?
Sure. Some of the most common things that we see is when we transition from our elementary school into our middle school, there's a few shots that you'll be getting. And again, Cumberland Family Medical can give those if you miss those at your pediatrician, if you weren't able to get in and get your well child checkup, if you had a busy summer traveling, lots of families are involved in ball and stuff like that, right there at Cumberland Family Medical. They could do those vaccinations. They can communicate with your primary care provider, which is a perfect way. Then the other thing to note is that we have so many families with our military influence here. They come from different states and they don't realize what time that our school starts so early. I mean, we start this Wednesday, I believe it's August the 7th. And so we do welcome and greet those kiddos in throughout the year. So if they need that well child visit, you need your sports physical so that your kiddo can play middle or high school ball. Those are available through Cumberland Family Medical as well.
And with Cumberland, they do the insurance and things like that if that's needed?
Yes, they do bill insurance. They do have a sliding scale fee for extreme cases where there might be situations where there's not medical insurance for the family. And they even work with our military population with TRICARE, because at first that seemed to be a slight hurdle, but Cumberland has communicated and accepts TRICARE, and things are going well with that too.
Wonderful. Now, your youngest daughter has become a nurse.
Yes, she has. Hardin County Schools produces many different children in many different careers, and we are super blessed that our youngest daughter graduated from North Hardin High School, went on to Campbellsville University, played some tennis down there, and graduated from their nursing program, has her BSN, and is gainfully employed with Baptist Health Hardin. We are super excited for what Hardin County Schools did for our kiddos.
Now, did she have the ability to go through our pathway?
She was not totally sure which direction she wanted to go in life. Our oldest daughter, she knew she was going to go one way and went to college and picked a different direction. And younger sister watched that. So she wasn't totally set on what her pathway needed to be. And she really enjoyed some things back at her home high school that she just wasn't quite ready to give up with. So she stayed through there at North Hardin and then started the nursing as soon as she went to Campbellsville.
It's a wonderful program. Campbellsville's a great partner too. One of the things that is new in the area too is that both James T. Alton and Vine Grove Elementary, they have their own Frisk.
Yeah, there's always great things going on in Frisk, Family Resource Youth Services Center land. And Frisk are underneath the umbrella of the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, just like DCBS and so forth. So each year, our legislators look at how things are going. The legislators always been wonderful and supported the Frisk and maintains that on a steady, consistent part of the budget line. We are very blessed that our Kentucky legislators do fight for and love the Frisk. And so there was some additional funding placed for opening places that there are 2 schools, or some even places 3 schools sharing one Frisk coordinator. And so James T. Alton in Pine Grove Elementary has had the magnificent Teresa Ovison for years. And we have now divided the 4U Frisk, and it is now Vine Grove Family Resource Center, as well as J.T. Alton Youth Service Centers. So Lamar Payne has been added to our team. We have an additional person wearing a jersey and fighting hard for our kids and families.
Now, will the original facility that was housed in stay as a usable facility?
So previously, for the 4U Frisk, that was for Vine Grove and J.T. Alton, there was a mobile unit out behind the school. Many of those throughout our school system were gotten rid of. And so that current principal, Mr. Kevin Estes, worked with Ms. Ovison and carved out, it had been a computer lab, just a beautiful area with conference room for meeting area with families, office for the Frisk coordinator, for the Frisk outreach worker, Miss Bethany Vaughn, there as well. Calming down area for kiddos that need maybe a quiet spot if they're a little anxious during the day. So that area will remain as J.T. Alton Youth Service Center. But now Vine Grove has specialized a spot that's just for the Vine Grove Family Resource Center. So there will be 2 centers separate and 1 in each school.
Is there also an assistant that's been added too?
There was an assistant because J.T. Alton and Vine Grove served 2 schools. So where we had that North Park and Radcliffe used to be Families First. And then when they split and they have a coordinator at Radcliffe and a coordinator at North Park, they no longer have that outreach worker. So this year, the decision making and everything, the splitting, that outreach worker position will remain just 1 more year to make the transition smooth, and then we'll just have just the 2 coordinators.
Great. Now with kiddos getting back into our schools, we know we have sniffles that take place and whooping cough and just a little bit of whatever is coming down with allergy season, but also COVID. So can you talk about some of those common things that parents should be aware of?
Yeah, always talk with your kid, have a good pulse on what's going on each morning as the kiddos head out to school and so forth. A lot of our parents are already up and gone to work when their kiddos going to school. So make sure your child has a way to communicate. If they're not feeling good, if they're feeling a little achy, a way to take their temperature, you practice and work with them. And if they have that fever over 100.4, then they need to stay home. Don't send them to school on the bus and say go straight to your school nurse when you get there, because you can imagine how many you might have spread to as you sit beside, because buses are nice tight little places, and if the windows aren't down and so forth, then the germs could spread. So we do ask that if your child is experiencing any gastro issues, vomiting, diarrhea, that seems to be associated with contagious disease, keep them in till 24 hours fever-free and stomach-free of any of those things going on. But a big thing you're going to see coming home this Wednesday on that first day of school is a lot of paperwork. And you want them to get to go see the school nurse. You want them, if they have a headache, to just get that Tylenol. And they're going to communicate, and they're going to talk to, it's depending on, elementary school, they're always going to call. Middle and high school, as they get a little older, you might just get a note in the backpack that shares your child needed a Tylenol today for a headache and so forth. But we need you to fill out that consent for health services and get that turned back in so that they do have that signed permission from the parent. As far as COVID is concerned, everybody wants to be very kind, very vigilant in those respects. So if you're being seen by your healthcare provider and have that diagnosis, you do what the healthcare provider tells you to do. If not, you can hop on the CDC guidelines and you'll have to make your own determinations as to when you're going to come back.
When things, I guess when the flu or something like that starts going through a classroom, what are some of the precautions? Well, I was going to say the classroom is infected. Let's just say that this classroom is infected. What do we do?
If a certain classroom is, they'll definitely talk with their custodial, their maintenance staff. They'll talk with the kiddos in the classroom. Let's wash our hands extra. We'll talk about, sneezing, coughing, making sure you're doing that in your in your elbow and so forth. Cleaning your surface areas, not sharing pencils and stuff and then touching your face. That was a big thing with my own personal children. I used to say during flu season, don't touch your face because there are so many germs on your fingernails. And when you do wash your hands, it's not a run underneath the water. We need some soap. We need to lather it up. Take care of those fingernails where lots of germs hide. If you have rings on your hands, staff members and so forth, make sure you clean underneath there. And then be conscious just to not be touching your face with your hands and so forth.
With those, the care of just trying to make yourself more safe against, catching anything like that. Is there any different protocol between the 3 levels of students, elementary, middle, high school? Is there any difference in the way those students are treated if they have COVID or some of the other?
For middle and high schools, just because of age appropriateness and growing and getting older, they have so much more awareness of personal space and so forth. There's different things, not even just with contagious disease, for example, lice and so forth, that could be transmitted between. That just doesn't happen. Something just doesn't jump from your head to my head. I'm gonna put on my hat, and then you take and put on my hat. So you talk to your kiddos at home about when you're at school. You can have lots of friends, but your jacket is your jacket. We don't share those kind of things and so forth, which will reduce that type transmission.
With schools starting, what are some phone numbers or areas where parents can get information?
Parents can always call their school. They are welcome to shoot their school nurse an email if they need some additional guidance. Our local health department, they are wonderful. You mentioned whooping cough. That's considered a quote-unquote contagious disease. If that were to happen in our area, whatever physician diagnosed it, they're required by law, not just a suggestion, but by law, to report the health department. And then my counterpart at the health department gives me a call. And they provide letters, and we print those out and get those sent out to families so everybody is in that loop of information and so forth. But we also have our wonderful SROs, our school resource officers, that work with us and keep our schools safe.
Yeah, it's for those at home. Now, it's not the meanies at the school that keeps your children where they have to come home because of illness. We're doing our best to make sure that they don't get worse in terms of their symptoms and things like that.
Sure.
Quickly, with it being August, it's hot, humid, and that goes hand in hand when the kids aren't feeling well. Can you just address that quickly?
Hydration is huge to a couple of different things. One, for just good eating habits. If you're drinking your water, and I know we have coffee cups, but we have water, trust me, in our coffee cups here. Water is just an excellent tool, and not most, but all schools have access to water, and I would encourage you. It's almost like it just gives the body extra energy and it flushes and so forth. It also helps you realize you're not always that hungry. You're mainly just thirsty. And another important practice, the coaches that our daughters had through tennis and basketball, they would always explain what you drink today is what affects your match or your competition or your game the next day. You can't just start drinking in the middle of a basketball game or a hot tennis match out on the court and think that you might not become physically fatigued. You need to be drinking up to that event. And that's super important, is hydration and water.
Wonderful. Well, Janae, thank you for joining us on this edition of EC3 HOSA Medical Moments. And we're going to take a quick break and show you some important information from one of our sponsors, Life Force.
My name is Amber, founder here at Life Force Wellness Center. We are standing right now in the Getting Salty Salt Room. Salt therapy has been used and known about since probably about 1817 during the Spanish flu, when a lot of the salt miners did not get some of the respiratory viruses that other people had gotten. So they kind of started studying it then. And so fast forward to today, what we're doing is we're using a halo generator that helps to put a pharmaceutical grade sodium chloride into the air. Sodium chloride being something that they even use in IVs. Very, very safe. So what it does is you sit in here in the salt room, actually lay in here in the salt room on one of these amazing loungers that we have. All of them are extremely comfortable, and I'll talk about one of these here in a minute. But it infuses into the air and you breathe microparticles of sodium chloride. What that does is attaches to the mucus in your lungs, helping you to reduce inflammation, helping overcome certain respiratory issues such as allergies, asthma, COPD are some of the things that have been well researched with sodium chloride. Obviously, if you have a medical condition, you want to ask your doctor for any medical advice when it comes to that. But it has been around for a long time and has been deemed very safe. We do keep research on our website, so if you're interested and you have any issues, you may want to research that for yourself and talk to your doctor. The amazing thing about this Getting Salty Salt Room is we have 2 vibroacoustic loungers in here, and I'm actually going to turn them on so that you can hear, and you may even be able to experience some of this sound coming through. So these 2 loungers here on the side are going to help you get into a really deep state of relaxation. When you're relaxed, your body is able to heal. Most of us are going through day-to-day life with so much stress that the body cannot overcome that. So when you're here, you just lay on down on our vibroacoustic, put a blanket on if you want to, and throw on some noise-canceling headphones and relax. You're in this room for probably about 40 to 45 minutes to allow you to receive the maximum benefit from the salt therapy. We hope to see you here in our Getting Salty Salt Room.
I want to thank Life Force for being one of our sponsors. Without that sponsorship, we could not do what we do at HCEC-TV. So thank you for watching, and make sure you keep your children, grandchildren as safe as they can be.